Hello and welcome back. In this video I'll be demonstrating how to configure an ACE3600 RTU for connection to an NTP server and the steps that go along the way, or the steps that are associated with configuring an NTP server for connection to a MOSCAD. It's very important that before we create the site or do anything, it's important that you research the NTP servers appropriate for your location, note their IP address or their name, and as well as any DNS servers that are active for your area. Let's begin by creating a site. So I've used the click and drag method here in creating a site. We've named the site 1000 and we're going to press add. Okay, we're just going to reconfigure some ports. So double click on the site, click on the ports tab, serial interface 1 we want to make RS485. We'll just leave that the default speeds. Serial interface 2 we want to make that local computer. Okay, and we'll change that data speed to 115 200 bits per second. Okay, next we configure our Ethernet port. Okay, we want to select static LAN, right, and we'll enter in our address details next. So we've configured our IP port, so we've completed configuring the 2 serial ports, and we've completed configuring the Ethernet port. Next we'll go to the advanced tab and we enable firewall and hardening. By default it's disabled, just click enable. Okay, and we add to the firewall address list. This is very important as well, because any devices that we want the MOSCAD to communicate with, their IP addresses need to appear here, and this includes any other MDLC devices as well. Alright, so let's begin with the network addresses. So we've entered in the address range of the IP addresses we want our MOSCAD to communicate with. Next, we populate the NTP servers and DNS servers. So let's enter in the first one. Let's bring that up again. I'm not sure what this error represents. Missing parameters. That it's all there. I'm pretty sure. MOSCAD's got something about cutting and pasting IP addresses and putting in unnecessary gaps and things like that. But just be wary of that. There we go. Next, we'll put in our last DNS NTP server, which is Asia. Now we'll leave that out. We'll put our DNS servers in next. That doesn't need to go in here. You can see where I've got a single IP address. I'm just putting in the IP address from and to. Just makes it a lot easier. And we'll do the same here. So we've got our DNS servers, and we've got our NTP servers in here as well. Okay, and hit OK. It's good. Next, we go back to our port settings, and we click on NTP servers, and we do this again. So we put in our servers in here. Again, we'll bring up that list, and we'll start with this one. We've just entered in our first 2 NTP servers, and last, to prove our DNS works, we'll pop in this address here. And that completes our NTP entries. Right. So, what have we done so far? We've configured the RTU, so we've reset the serial ports, we've enabled the Ethernet port, we've given it a static address, we've defined our DNS server. Thought I had. Better check this again. other DNS server here. Okay, so what have we done so far? We've introduced a site into the project. We'll just wait for this. So we've added the site to the project. We've configured the ports. We've configured our Ethernet port. We've defined our DNS servers, and we've defined our NTP servers as well. Okay. Next, we need to define a time offset. Okay, for your region. Again, it's important when you're setting up a device like a MOSCAD and you're using an NTP server. You need to know what your time offset is for your area. Where I am currently, we are about 11 hours ahead of UTC, so we'll just put in user configured and we'll pop in a number here. 660 is about what it is. It's about 11 hours. Okay, we save that and we'll download it, and we'll use some, and I'll use some diagnostics to prove that we've got a connection to the server. First of all, what I'll do, I'll just disable this no time. I'll just say no time zone. We'll save that and we'll download that to the RTU, and we'll read back the time, and that'll give us UTC time. We're downloading to our RTU. You can see here there's a bit of blue writing. So the STS is telling us there's a conflict between the expected firmware version. So STS is expecting to see 21.66, but the RTU we're connected to only has version 21. It's not a big deal. It's not a fatal error. It's just giving you a warning that that's happened. So our download's finished successfully. Click OK and close that. And we'll just give the RTU a moment to reboot and restart. Okay, so the RTU successfully rebooted, and first thing we should do is check our error logger to make sure there are no errors, and that's great, there are no errors, which is excellent. Next we look at diagnostics. Now, it's always a good idea when you do diagnostics to do a device list. So click on this little icon here and get device list. The device list is a software representation of all the devices that are configured, physical and software devices in the CPU. Okay, so in this instance, the device we're looking for is NTP. Okay, and you type in 255 and it gives you a list, like a menu. There we go. We are interested in level 2, and level 2 will display any connections we have, or any connections that have been made by the NTP, by the MOSCAD to an NTP server. And there we are. We have our 3 devices listed. The next one we'll look at is level 4, which is NTP resolved servers. So that just is an indication our DNS is working, and there it is. Our DNS is working, so it's resolved asia.pool as this IP address, and it's an active connection, which is great, which is what we want. Okay. Now, next we'll check our time, date and time. So at this point, we're only interested in getting the time. So this is the current time here. Select local and get, and you can see there's a difference there. There's quite a significant difference. That's UTC time. Okay. We need to put in that time offset, and we'll do that now. I'll just close out of there. Go back to the advanced tab, and we go to time zone, and we want to enable it. So we use user configured time zone, and there's our value 660. We save, and we'll download that now. Okay, we've successfully downloaded the site configuration to the RTU. Hit OK and close. We'll just give that a moment for the RTU to recover and reboot. And we'll go back to our date and time. This is what we're interested in. And local. Again, we only want to get it. We want to make sure that when we get the time, that it matches the local time on our PC. And there it is. So we've got the right time offset. So it's important that you know what your local time offset is for the area where you reside. Okay. Now, with regards to the IP connectivity and that thing, because we're not connecting to any other IP enabled MOSCAD devices, we don't need to have any entries in the IP conversion table. The IP conversion table is only there for connecting to an IP-enabled MOSCAD device. Okay, when we're exchanging MDLC frames over IP, that's when we use an MDLC over the IP conversion table. That's the only reason why we use it. Okay. So now we have a time syncing RTU. So this RTU now time sync. What if we have a network and want to be able to time sync that network, let's say on RS Link 1? How do we do it? We write a simple application. So in the ACE1000, or in the ACE3600, click on Assign Application. This will be a new application, of course. Just click on New, and we'll call this NTP or time sync. Okay, and we'll hit now type. We always select ACE3600. Okay, your choice is MC Edge or ACE3600. I don't have an MC Edge, so we're just concentrating on ACE3600 for the moment. Hit OK. We'll just wait for it to catch up. We select the site and apply. Okay. And here's our application window. Now, under System Tables, click and expand, and we go here to Daylight Saving Dates. Now, again, just as important as it was to find out what your NTP servers were and DNS servers were for your location, you also need to work out or find out what the start month, start day, and start hour for your daylight savings is in the area where you're at. For the sake of for our sake, we're just going to do a bit of a test here. We'll set something up, and we'll just see if it works. Okay, so that's one step you need to do in Application Programmer. The second step is under Site Table. Okay, so under Site Table, we want to be able to time sync the link. Okay, in this instance, it's RS Link 1. So if we write in RS Link 1, or RS1 is the site name, and the link ID is obviously going to be RS Link 1, and we just leave that at 0. Okay, that's all we need to do. Fine. For that table, that's all we need to do. Of course, if we had other links in here, we'd add those links in here as well. But for the time being, we're only interested in RS Link 1. Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you need to find out what your month start, day start, hour start is for daylight savings. But for this instance, we're going to be testing this, just a bit of a test setup to demonstrate how this works. Okay, for the sake of testing, we'll enter in the second month, make the day today, which is the 14th, and the hour start, we'll make it 1400. Now you'll have to enter 24-hour in 24-hour format, time format. Okay, month end, we'll make it February. Day end, make it the 2nd as well. Hour end, we'll make it 1600. Okay. Then we come to, hang on a sec, before we do that, very important to maybe remember what they were. And we'll do our process next. We'll write a little bit of an application. So right click on main and append rung. And we'll just call it main. Okay, and here we go. Just make this a smaller window. And we just want some comparators. So we type in month start. You just type the number straight in, and MOSCAD will add that to as a constant. Okay, month start. We want a day start. We need the date. Yep. start. Now it's important we put a differentiator in, an up differentiator as well. And next we look for the call function. And there it is, there's our call function, and the call we want to use is sync. So if we look for here, there it is. And we just put our RS1, there's the parameter, okay? There's a variable we configured earlier. That's great, that's done. We're only interested in setting the time for the moment because the end date, it works exactly the same way. We're just starting it. So we save this. We'll just make sure we've got it associated with a site, which we have. Okay. Save it. Compile it. There should be no errors because it's a very simple application, and we download that locally to the RTU. Then we'll come back and check the time tag messages to make sure that the signals or the sync has gone out, and that the RTU at the other end has received it and the time has changed. We'll add a site in there on RS-Link1 so the site, the date updates on it. We'll call it site 50, and we just want to reconfigure the port. We just want to make RS485. It's good. We'll make this a local computer port. 115.200, that's fine. We'll just save that. Now we don't need to do anything else to the slave device. That's fine. And there it is. We'll come and check in on this setup in a moment. Once the time has passed, and we'll check our time tag messages and diagnostics. Okay, so it's over past 2 o'clock now, or past 1400 hours. Let's just check the time tag messages. We're going to logger, and we look at here, local. So look at time tag, select local, and time tag, and start. Old date, 14th second, okay. New date, that's what's gone out. So let's look at our remote device and see what happened. Now the remote device was actually a MOSCAD L, it was a legacy MOSCAD, and they were notorious for the time resetting when they lost power. So I know for a fact that I pulled power on the device and I set it up for time syncing as an RS-Link1. Let's just have a look and see if there's any timestamp messages in there. There we go. So the old date was the 1st 1980, old time 07/06/58. New date is today. New time 13:54 at power up. I'm not sure why it's saying power up, but there's our time sync message. So yes, that works fine. So you can have a setup, simple application that will time sync a link or RTUs on a link. And when you have many links, where you would have many links, you go into your database and you go into system table, and you go to site table, and you'd list, let's add another 3 in here, right? Just for example. So you could have your RS-Link1, you could have RAD1, and you could have line 2, and we just put in there just for our radio link. So we want radio 1 in here, radio 1, oh. Radio 1, and we want line 2. There it is. So at the prescribed time, we could have you could have it go out and sync up. Of course, you can make it even a little bit more fancy. You could set this up as a count. So when you with an index, you can set up an index as well to have it count. If you'd like me to show you how that works, drop me an email. More than happy to show you how to use it. You can have the index referenced to that site table, and when that index equals 1, for example, it will go out and sync it will go ahead and sync that link, as long as, of course, it'll only sync if these conditions are correct. So, for example, if you want to stagger the time syncing on these different links, you'd have your index here, and you say when the index equals 2, and this condition's met, go out and time sync that link. The same with line 2. Again, when the conditions are met and the index equals 3, time sync that link. Again, if you want me to show you how to do that, drop me a line, drop me an email. More than happy to help. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for taking interest in MOSCAD. Any questions, any queries, any service inquiries, drop me an email. Thanks for watching.